So, hello, my friends, and welcome. I wanted to talk to you a little bit about scenarios here. The whole business of trying to build pictures of alternative futures. I've been in the scenario business all my life, and we're now looking at a period of time that is the crux of uh, what I've been talking about in speeches for years, for decades, literally. And that's this convergence of trends, driving forces, we call them, trends that are coming together all at the same kind of time to produce dramatic change, extraordinary kind of change. In our terms, we've been calling it a new human and a new world, and it's all happening, and it's happening apparently in spades in the next couple of weeks. This is the 27th of March, and starting on the 2nd of April, 2nd to the 4th in particular, what you've got is many different sources from different, whether they're computer modelers or whether they're psychics or whether they're analysts or whether they're astrologers or whatever. They're all saying that between the beginning of April here and working our way through into June or something like that, it's just a giant, big, epical kind of things. And we're not talking about Donald Trump making an announcement as he has announced on the 2nd of April. And he's saying that it's going to affect all Americans and it'll be good. Well, that's probably that he's going to get rid of the IRS and stand up the external revenue service, which perhaps will make a lot of people happy. But that's not what we're talking about here, because these very people are talking in superlatives here, and these astrologers and others who are saying this, they've never seen anything like this, and it's coming downstream. You got kind of the remote viewers that are standing up and saying kind of variations on that. Cliff High and his computer programmer talking about that. It has certainly idling underneath all of it is the possibility that you're going to have major changes in the dollar driven by the loss of confidence, because the Doge program that's running around the government and turning up all this uh, mischief has figured out that that there's at least 14, I guess, computers that are generating free money all over the place, and that there are at least 100 and maybe as many as 1,000 times more dollars in the global system than anybody's understood. And that immediately, when that becomes clear, it depreciates the value of the dollar immensely and rapidly. And so that would get about a lot of people's attention. And those are only the kind of the conventional ones. There's a good handful of really unconventional ones, the ETs and stuff. I mean, there's some of these people who have reason to have an opinion and an audience who are saying that we're going to have this engagement with extraterrestrials by the end of the year, sometime in the third quarter, maybe, or something. So, I mean, there's a whole lineup of amazing kind of things that could really be disruptive, to say nothing about wars in Iran and anywhere else that China, they're trying to do. And all of this has convinced me, not only in conventional terms, but unconventional terms, that this is highly volatile and subject to change. That there's really the clear possibility that these futures that are coming downstream could the one that kind of manifests itself and settles in could be really quite strange and unusual, and uh, to and and that's in addition to all these other ones that are very, very potentially disruptive. And so it's in that context of that that I'm kind of looking down, trying to read the tea leaves and make some sense out of what might be coming downstream. And then I had this interview this morning with David Martin, Dr. David Martin. Dave Martin is an old friend of the Arlington Institute, and he comes by and does a transition talk every year here in Berkeley Springs, and we live stream it all over the world. And Dave has got a huge following. The first year he came here recently, about 3 or 4 years ago, we had 1,000 people all over that were either on live stream or here locally, and we kind of sold out the local theater. So David has got a big following, and David's kind of claim to fame vis-a-vis the Arlington Institute is that he came to town here in 2007, early 2007, and predicted with extraordinary kind of accuracy that in December of 2007, what you were going to have is the beginning of the collapse of the financial system, which turned into the extraordinary kind of problems in 2008. And it all started in 2007, and it was because these instruments, these financial instruments, were coming due, and there was no way to get themselves out of it. Well, Dave Martin has said now that the financial system hits the wall. The inability to there's a inability to pay any of the bills, the big bills for the government. You can't pay off the debt. You can't even pay the interest rates on it. And when that happens, it hits the wall, and then the whole thing starts to cave. Well, he was saying that there was going to be 27, and now he's backing it into kind of the present time. It's not quite the present, it's later this year, but what he's doing is, what he's starting to see is that there are kind of reasons to accelerate all of this, and some of which might have to do with the loss in confidence of the dollar, whatever. But in any case, you can line up a variety of things here that all suggest that this is a time of really big change. But what David then says, and this is what he's going to talk about when he comes here on the 12th of April, what he says is that this was baked in the cake back starting in 1933, and that the systems that they put together and structured back then guaranteed that you would have this financial collapse. I think in particular he's talking about that was going to come up on a date certain, and it was pretty easy to kind of find the window when it was going to happen, and that there's no uncertainty about this future, and that it is really been there all the time, and we've just never looked at it and figured it out. And that more than that, that humanity will get through all of this, and we'll start a new world, and we'll kind of work our way down the golden path or whatever it is on the way to a new world. Wow. I mean, that is so kind of qualitatively different from most of the highly disruptive new world, kind of things that we have talked about here at the Arlington Institute for so long. Now, I mean, it's almost kind of a steady state scenario, one of those that you just muddle through is a classic way in which you talk about it, is that you muddle through and, and when you get out of the back end, then, you fix it up and you keep on going. Um, don't like the feel of that. I mean, and I have to wait and listen to him, and I'm really looking forward to hearing him speak. And uh, if you aren't signed up for our transition talk on the 12th of April, you really ought to, because Dave Martin is an amazing, not only an amazing mind, but he's fun to listen to, and he's very, very provocative. And so this is really going to be interesting. But he's kind of saying it's a big op, and they've put it all together a long time ago, and they knew it was going to run its course, and yeah, and it would end, and then they'd have to do something new. He's talking about it in terms of implications, and kind of almost implications analysis, and saying that there were some big decisions made. Einstein, as a matter of fact, is a part of it, and some of his perspectives on the world, which were embraced by the conventional wisdom or the powers that be, that were wrong, and that Tesla and others were adamant that Einstein was wrong even back then, but for political reasons or otherwise, Einstein was the one who was advanced, and those ideas that they put in place back then in a considered way had direct implications that are predictable and projectable out to the present time. Well, wow, that's kind of a big idea. That's kind of interesting notion that all this disruption and all this uncertainty and everything that we're seeing, and the growing sense of it, and I mean, this whole system that we live in is coming apart 5 different ways at the same time. But David's about to suggest, I think, that it'll be all right. Not everybody will make it through here. It's going to be tough, but we'll get out of the back end. And I asked him about alien life and what that might happen if it shows up. And he said, yeah, well, it's clear there's lots of it. There's life all over, and there's lots of alien things. And I mean, he never kind of addressed the big implications of that scenario, which are that it pulls the pins on all of the aspects of the big ideas that support humanity, the history, tech, how science works, how religion works. So, all of these ideas that we take for granted and that build our paradigm. So anyway, it's really going to be quite interesting, and it'll be fun to see how this works its way out. You've got astrologers who are saying that the situation is so acute in the next week that there may be another assassination attempt on Trump. No indication whether it'll be successful or not, but in any case, I mean, there's just big disruptions, and on one hand, you can understand why, because there are a whole lot of people are unhappy, particularly inside of the government, who are really unhappy with how they're cleaning some house in there. But it will, in any case, run. And most of these analysts, Cliff High and Marty Armstrong and others, are saying, it's a good 2 years running, at least through or up to 2027 of this kind of stuff before it turns again. So stay tuned. It's going to be a fascinating and interesting kind of time. And but you need to be always kind of spring loaded to be sensitive to new ideas and the new information coming in, and the switch and the shift of this whole thing, because we'll see how good Dave's argument is, in a couple of weeks. But this is going to be some rough running for a little while. So we'll come back. We'll talk more about it in a couple of weeks. Take care.